We're supposed to jump up now? This is just, I'd like to make a comment that we have so much new growth and there's so many moving parts that CJ and Christy have really been working diligently to get a handle on what our revenues will be for next year. And that's key to the whole budgeting process. So thank y'all for your service.
I'd like to say this one.
Item H is consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 2015-1190, an ordinance of the City of FULSHEAR repealing and replacing ordinance number 82-573, an ordinance of the city regulating fireworks.
We, coming out of the last council meeting, we'll have to make some modifications to allow for, I guess, an affirmative defense mechanism for transporting fireworks. I know there's different theories out there about the ability of that, and so we will open it back up to you guys for
Okay, I actually kind of went through this, and I'm all in favor of regulating fireworks. I think the city's and the citizens' best interest is to keep fireworks from being discharged within the city limits. With that said, I also think it's a narrowly tailored scope that we're trying to achieve, which is keeping fireworks from being discharged within the city limits. And the way that this ordinance is currently drafted is a little more of a broad discussion of it. It actually is more expanded and criminalizes possession and transport, which technically those activities in and of themselves are unharmful conduct. And when you start writing ordinances with kind of a broad swath, I think it leaves the city vulnerable to, it's just unconstitutionally overbroad. And you run afoul of things like the Commerce Clause and things like that. Of course, that's on a very, kind of looking at it from a global standpoint, but coming down to it, like the affirmative defense doesn't specifically address the period of time being transported, the method of being transported, does it include overnight? When you talk about possession, does it have to be in packages, out of packages? Just the way it's currently worded, it's a larger scope than what we need to protect the city and the residents' best interest. There are other cities that have very similar ordinances to this, but they carve out exceptions for possession and transportation. I don't think it's our intent to criminalize someone buying fireworks in the city of Katy, storing them at their house, and then heading down to Eagle Lake, if it's permitted in Eagle Lake, to set off fireworks on 4th of July weekend. And then there's a length of time, 3 or 4 days, that they're in the person's possession, whether in their car or their home. It's just, those aren't, possessing and transporting are not harmful activities. And this just kind of guts people, and we're putting in a fine of $2,000 for each violation. And I just think that's pretty steep and criminalizing conduct that's not really narrowly tailored to what we're trying to achieve by this ordinance.
Okay.
A couple things. Grady, you said you and CJ almost matched to nearby cities, the ordinances that they have for regulating fireworks. Is that right? Like we have a very similar ordinance to what other cities have. And Chief, I don't know if he's over there, spoke to the fact that right now our ordinance from the early 80s cannot be really enforced because they can pop fireworks and have them everywhere, but if an officer gets on scene, they're in possession, but they can't do anything about it because they're done popping. They have to actually see them popping a firework in the sky. So possession is dangerous because they are popping them in their driveways and cul-de-sacs and letting children pop them and everything, and doing it at 2 in the morning. And that does leave a liability for the city. For people, it does leave a danger, I believe. So possession is dangerous because they're possessing them when they're popping them and about to pop them at their homes. I think affirmative defense that they put in here protects the people driving through the city. It says occupants of vehicles containing fireworks. I do think we need something for possession in our fireworks ordinance to be able to help stop people from not following the original, that we're not following the original ordinance.
CJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 82 ordinance, the problem with that is we have a language in there that requires it has to be, they have to be on-site detonation. The officer physically has to see them detonate the firework. This ordinance, I think, eliminates that or gets around that because they still can build a circumstantial evidence. If you have a group of people and there's rubbish all in the roadway, or they showed up and there's fireworks 2 o'clock in the morning and they have debris in front of their home, that officer has the ability, because that's a circumstantial case. Now, they will have to go down to court and say, this wasn't mine, there's a lot of things, but the way it's drafted here, that gets around that on-site detonation. And I agree, the 82 ordinance absolutely needs to be reworked. It's implausible to have officers driving around. Of course, they can see the fireworks going off in the sky, but by the time they see them going off in the sky, the person is already gone. But they can get on site, and what they've said is, and they've reported, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, you get there and you see the debris, but the way our current ordinance is worded, you cannot charge them with anything because you did not see a detonation on site.
Correct.
And to further that, the other thing that possession allows, and this was from you, Chief, as well, is that they have, from what I was told, have left and the people start popping fireworks again. Because they weren't watching them, the police officers left, they start popping again. This way they can actually confiscate, if they have, a big group of fireworks, they can actually confiscate all of the fireworks, be done with it, shut it down in that cul-de-sac, on that street, wherever, and it be done. That's another thing that possession covers. So they cannot continue popping when the police officer leaves, which they've done.
Chief, answer this if you don't mind. If, for instance, an individual sees another individual popping fireworks in a cul-de-sac or whatever it might be, and they call you guys, those people are gone, you don't know, but they can say, hey, it's that house right there. Is there any part of public nuisance that you're able to act upon?
The best thing I can act on would be the noise ordinance. I mean, we can always fall back to that. As far as on view, whether using a citizen as a witness, you get into credibility issues. There's a whole lot of things you get into that I don't handle, obviously. But Ms. Tristan brings up a good point. Is when we go back, the possession. Let me back up a little bit. The part of the ordinance I have a problem with is the transport and to and from. I think if we can clarify that, because I'm gonna have a hard time. We got fireworks stands everywhere. I'm gonna have a hard time citing somebody when they go over here. They're going to Western Lakes and citing somebody for the possession of it.
And we put that in.
Yeah, and then we're going to confiscate those. I think where I was more looking and leaning and thought we were looking at is if I go to a location and they're shooting fireworks, then I can confiscate those fireworks based on our ordinance that suggests that we prohibit the shooting of fireworks in the city and take that as contraband. And I thought that's where we were going when we were talking about the possession part.
Okay, so on the enforcement side, that brings to section 9, public nuisance. And it says the police are directed and required to seize and cause to be safely destroyed any fireworks within the city in violation of this ordinance. Are those fireworks destroyed, before someone gets a day in court? If so, then that lacks due process.
Yeah, it's evidence. It's not.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
we handle these evidence as we do paraphernalia or anything else.
Right, and we have, code enforcement, police department, fire marshal, or any other duly constituted peace officers empowered to stop the transportation and detain any fireworks being transported illegally or close to any building where fireworks are found or stored illegally. I mean, that's again a commerce clause, and yes, this is very similar. I pulled up a lot of different ordinances in the state of Texas, surrounding communities and even communities that are not so close to us, but they provide for specific exceptions on possession and transportation. It is inherently unfair, I think, to residents, and I think it misses the mark slightly on what they're trying to accomplish. If someone buys fireworks, possesses them for the purpose of using them at a later date in an appropriate zone, criminalizing that, in and of itself, that's like, to make an analogy, it's like criminalizing possessing a gun. The gun itself is not evil. The use and how it's used is what causes the harm. You don't want to criminalize, I mean, that's a flat out Second Amendment. And just possessing something is not inherently a criminal activity.
Can I use another analogy so we can maybe understand this a little bit better? You can go to anywhere in Houston and go to head shops, smoke shops, and buy all the pipes you want. Okay? I can't use that as paraphernalia unless I can associate it with the crime of possession. having marijuana there. So now I can create that as contraband. So I think if we did that with the fireworks and suggest that, yeah, your possession, we're charging you with the possession based on your actions of, you know, shooting or.
Exactly, but again, with your analogy, that means your actions based on your actions within the city limits.
Correct.
So it's your intent within the city limits. This doesn't limit it to the city limits. This just says possession and transportation. Our goal, like I started this by saying, is we want to do it, keep fireworks from being discharged within the city limits. If it's contraband within the city limits because you have an intent to discharge it within the city limits, that's a different issue.
Correct.
But if you don't have the intent to discharge it within the city limits and you're merely possessing or transporting them, then you're not technically in violation and the affirmative defense does not address that.
Grady, my phone died, but New Braunfels has a ordinance illegal to shoot fireworks in the city limits of New Braunfels. They do have a clause in there on transportation that transporting is not illegal in itself if they're still within the same wrapper and they haven't been opened. They basically stipulate that if you're in a truck or vehicle, you should be placed in the back of the truck. If you're in a
Car should be in
car,
the trunk.
it should be in the trunk. So they have
Or
stipulations.
if you don't have a trunk, they set your glove box.
Right. So there is ways of putting it in there that basically kind of gives them the legal right to transport them without saying, hey, we got pulled over, oh, we got fireworks in the back, and stuff like that, but.
We can make it an exception instead of an affirmative defense.
May I just ask, who has drafted this ordinance? Has Ms. Krennic taken a look at it? Has Mr. Roberts, has anybody taken a look at it when it was being drafted? I'm just curious.
When it was being drafted, no.
Yes,
We were provided it when it was after.
Who
the
was
fact.
the
I don't know.
actual drafter of
I
the?
drafted the ordinance based on the model ordinances from other communities, and then turned it over to legal for review.
Right.
So do we need
So our
to
legal team
review
has
this?
reviewed it. What is your opinion on possession?